I think we need a sensible debate in this country about alcohol.
Oh my God, we've gone on to sensible debates. Everybody.
We do seem to be need a sensible debate on alcohol and how we what's the word? What's the word? No, it's a sensible debate and how we legislate for alcohol as well.
But alcohol is okay in moderation. That's it.
Can I raise a point? Without alcohol, Brighton, what would Brighton do? I mean, as far as economy goes, this is huge for Brighton, surely.
Alcohol for many people is the single biggest public health issue in Brighton and Hove, and it's easy to see why. It takes an enormous toll on the city. The costs of it are estimated to be around £107 million. Over 5,000 people are admitted to hospital because of alcohol each year. We know that crime rates in the city, although they've been falling, the alcohol crime rates are roughly double what they are around the whole of the southeast. And we know that alcohol is implicated in half of all cases of domestic violence. But it's not that simple, because alcohol also brings a lot of benefits. We know, for example, that over 7,000 people are employed in Brighton and Hove working in some way involved with alcohol. 3% of people work in bars. And all this brings a staggering £329 million into our economy each year. So it's a huge issue for us in Brighton and Hove, both for the benefits and for the costs. The purpose of this debate is for us to know from you what you think about alcohol.
You should drink, but not to excess, because then it just starts violence and all that.
Kind of on the streets, like making like chaos and like everything else, and they shouldn't be doing it. But if they can handle it and having fun, going out in the evening, then it's all right.
A couple of drinks is fine, but when you get absolutely smashed, it's just not good.
Hey.
Yeah, but the amount of deals there are in all the clubs, you can't really not.
Well, I just think it's like a bit of banter and like, but I just don't like it when there's like...
I love banter as well.
Certainly in the city centre, I think it does get out of hand at the weekends and the evenings.
I think that there's been a bit too much binge drinking down on West Street, and the girls seem like they're acting a bit peculiar, and yeah, put themselves in danger. That seems to be the main problem, I think. A lot of nudity and excess, I think, yeah.
Every social situation, no matter what it is, involves booze.
It seems like a lot of people think they have to drink to enjoy themselves, you know, and I don't think that's necessary.
Certainly we would occasionally overdrink, but we wouldn't drink to the same excesses that they're drinking now.
We have a large problem, especially on the weekends, and then, you know, Christmas and New Year's and Pride and Freshers Week. We have about 7 to 10 people every night on the weekend coming in just because they're drunk, or because they have drank too much and they have fallen over, they have banged their head. Some large proportion of them is brought in by the ambulance because they can't walk.
From the age of 18 till I was 26, I was an alcoholic. So I know what I'm talking about. But I could hold my drink. I didn't stagger about and fall down like an idiot. I was steady on my legs. I could hold, but you see them today, they're staggering all over the place. They're falling on the floor, they're falling on the face. They can't hold it.
I'm worried that the young kids will go everywhere to get the cheapest drink, to get as drunk as quickly as possible, and then the young boys can't often handle their drink. And to me, anyone that gets violent after a drink should not be drinking, and I don't, that's not a good night out for me to witness it, or that's my problem with it.
There's a lot of pushing, there's a lot of crowded, and that's when people start to get a bit angry and start to feel a bit claustrophobic. There's a few men that get a bit too, especially once they've been drinking, they get a bit too forceful, and they'll just not hurt you, just follow you and like nag at you and stuff like that, and it's just not something you want on a night out when you're having fun.
The reality is that although violent crime is coming down, there are still people drinking to harmful levels, and we want to work closely to find ways of preventing this from happening and also educating people.
I find that some of the students, because there's a lot of students in Brighton, quite a lot of them do actually go over the top and just act like, you know, act kind of foolish, to tell you the truth. You know, if you can educate them a little bit more, and, you know, the risk of drinking till you're drunk and acting silly on the streets, then that might change their attitudes.
I absolutely think the whole of society has a responsibility to teach kids that you can have a drink and enjoy your meal, or you can go out and have a drink, but it seems to be an explosion of going out to drink, and that's...
But it's cheap. I'm looking at a sign now, cocktail jugs, $5.99.
And we just had a cocktail as a special treat, and we pay £7 each. And that's about getting drunk. What we did was a special treat about having a nice drink.
The pubs are, quite expensive, but it's where they get them from the supermarkets. It's silly price. It's cheaper than water. It's cheaper than water.
You can always find a place, a shop that will do deals, 2 for £6.
Yeah, they always do cheap
bottles
deals.
Of wine or something like that, and that tempts you to go in because you're getting a deal. People love a deal.
I think it's fair to have deals because not everyone has a lot of money, but if you can get loads and loads of stuff, you are going to get really wasted.
Pretty much.
Price-wise, there's not a lot to do other than go to the pub, pretty much, if you're on a budget.
It's totally cultural. It's, I found it especially different when I came to England, how cool it was to have a hangover, and how for me it was disgraceful to feel sick because of alcohol, and how for young people it was incredibly cool to have a hangover. And I do worry that my children will grow up in a system. It's a cultural system, so you have to change for the culture. Changing extra 50p won't make any difference. People will still spend whatever money is required to do what they want to do.
Every city has bars and clubs and things because young people or people of all ages like to go out and have fun and enjoy themselves. I don't think Brighton's any different. It's just that there's a lot of bars in a very small area, and it's near the coast, and a lot of people, come here because they know everybody likes to have a good time. And I think that's good for the economy. It's good for people that work very hard. I don't see any problem with that.
I think it is party central cool, but I think that it's not necessarily a bad thing. It's what makes Brighton and has its laid back, great vibe.
So, for the first half of the alcohol debate, we heard what people think about alcohol and its effects in Brighton and Hove. The second part was to ask you what you thought were the solutions, what we could do together to address the problems that alcohol brings to the city.
I think the police presence is a good thing, and like Jo was saying, she came out clubbing with some friends, and I was really paranoid about, if someone had put something in her drink, or if, that, and the police presence really helps, and I think that's a good deterrent as well for bad behaviour.
If you're an irresponsible drinker, then fine. Police, get the police out there, get them off the streets.
Lock them up. We fully empathise with people, particularly residents who may wake up every morning, go to step out their door and find vomit on their doorstep, etc. Their expectation is that we will do something about it to actually solve the problems that occur within the city. But we're also mindful of the fact that it's better to prevent and educate, and we'll be investing with health colleagues in an alcohol diversion scheme where people actually have the opportunity to talk about their levels of drinking and the effect it might be having on them.
We're going to have more drunks because of all the social depravity that's been thrust upon us. People forced into states where they're depressed, they'll turn to alcohol. Maybe what we should do is use some of the massive revenue from alcohol to have nice warders that go around giving them blankets and cushions so they can sleep on the grass.
I think maybe we should invest some money into having some more support to keep the people hydrated, make sure they're getting home safely, that sort of thing. I don't think you can really stop people from drinking, but maybe we should put some services around to protect them.
I mean, we share a common interest with other agencies in that we're determined to keep people safe, and it is about people being safe and sound in this city.
So I'll probably sort out underage drinking if I was running the city. Probably sort that out, because that's not... I don't really know, but
that's why they stopped being this
I'll just try and sort it out.
Rather than what to do on a Friday, let's go to the pub if there's something more to do. Not really sure. I don't know. I'm quite more into outdoor sports, kind of things like that. Like I know there's skate parks and that about, but maybe some other similar kind of things about more affordable. Yeah, some more things like rock climbing, things like that. Because I looked into that, it's quite expensive to join a club and things like that, similar activities like that, I think would benefit.
I think there should be an alternative for young people in terms of evening entertainment of what they can do. Just from talking to other people, there doesn't seem to be much of a alternative to pubs. There aren't really that many places where people could just go in the evening, late evening, have a coffee, chat to their friends. It just doesn't exist.
So you could go into a bar at 10 o'clock at night, take your family, you could have a cup of coffee, something to eat, and maybe a drink if that's what you want. But to get out of this culture of just going out to drink for drink's sake.
So, what did we learn from this big alcohol debate? Well, we got a lot of good engagement. People took part in the focus groups, 1,600 people responded to the survey, and in the Twitter exercise, 110,000 people were engaged in that debate. What did they tell us? Well, they like Brighton and Hove. They don't want to see it change too much, but they do see alcohol as a problem, and they want to see tougher action. They support high visibility policing. They support the idea that retailers who sell alcohol should in some way contribute to clearing up the ill effects of alcohol. And the one big thing that really took us by surprise was that 60% of people who responded said they were put off Brighton a little bit by alcohol, and they wanted to see different things available so they could come to the city, enjoy the city, and while alcohol might be part of the experience, it won't be the only experience.